I might start then with a question that would be to the first and, well, actually to all, but as you're looking at these programs and doing these case studies, would you consider how you might actually improve the site? I mean, take it to the next level. What would you do to that site that could actually be implemented in the next step of the design? If you were going to add buildings or add different infrastructure, how would you go about doing this so that you can incorporate your knowledge and studies from the beginning of the project? You know, how could you help the developers and designers here?
The first thing, I mean, the one we studied is to consider, I mean, the immediate one is how the landscape is implemented. And when the landscape is implemented, they have to look at the climate, where to lessen, I mean, the wind movement and where to increase it. That is, I mean, the important aspects. But in going forward, especially in this, town planning and lot of high-rise development, what I like is the one which you have in Hong Kong, is the air ventilation assessment. Seeing that before having all these towers are built up and pollution is a big problem, you know, to have, I mean, a progressive approach, you know, whenever we have a high-rise towers, what is the impact of there and what is their contribution to the microclimate? That's what we are looking. Actually, what we were looking at when we studied is exactly, I mean, seeing what is the landscape is playing a role.
Yeah, I was asking, has a comparative study been made between the results of actual wind tunnel tests and CFD simulation softwares? And if yes, what is the conclusion? How reliable are the results of simulations?
So we just used the safety for the simulation. We didn't have the experiment to validate it. So we just checked the results of the data from the literature to validate that.
And maybe Dr. Wang, you could talk a little bit, as you've done this study, which was, you know, personally quite interesting to see these two places I know very well, and studied the walkways, which are the horizontal plane lifted and is a more managed human climate zone. Are there things that we can learn, and as you go forward, that you would want to share in terms of what that means for future developments?
I have just mentioned that in Hong Kong, the skywalk system is quite good. And I would also like to mention that in Hong Kong, the MILU policy is quite good, is also quite good because of since this kind of plan policies, the Hong Kong do create some place with super high densities. And for this kind of super high densities, they create the high efficiencies, and that make the city do not crowd. So they also try to encourage the mixed use policies and try to make the city have much more area about the greenland. So finally, they also try to connect these projects with the with the public transportation system, especially the metro system. So as is noted, the Hong Kong metro system is only the metro system can earn the money all over the world. So most of people in Shanghai, most people in Hong Kong would like to choose. Especially the office people, the people who work in the office would like to choose the metro system. So that is another very important thing. So from my opinion, so in Hong Kong, the infrastructure system is quite good, and the government have also put much efforts on it with the developers and also the architects. But in Shanghai, we should listen for that. We should know these lessons from the Hong Kong, and I think maybe the government should pay more attention about it. That's what I need to say.
I have a question about the index to assess the heat island or microclimate. As I know, there are many classical indexes such as the site value. Do you know? A standard effective temperature of the MRT, the mean reading temperature. So why do you choose the two index to assess the heat island or the microclimate? Why don't you choose the two? Yeah.
Well, I haven't calculated, I mean, the comfort in this one.
Yeah.
I just use a psychrometric chart. And those, even they don't have exactly for, I mean, outdoor comfort. The one which I said is a study which I'm familiar with, Richard Adair in Sydney. Actually, they conducted, I mean, experiment on external tests, which they, as you said, I mean, mean radiation temperature, which they have, and come up with a value. In this one, we used, I mean, the radiation is considered calculated, because what we did is, we take the position of the sun, getting the longitude, the altitude, and then we said, okay, you can have, I mean, clouds, okay? You can have, but we considered for this a fair weather condition. Fair weather condition, how it's defined, you can get it in ASHRAE, I mean, how it's defined. So it's not extreme one, for fair weather condition, and then you just only consider the solar loads. When you are thinking about the heat island effect, solar load is one component. There is heat generated by people, heat generated by the cars. We haven't considered all that. It is a very complicated, I mean, exercise when you are considering all those things. So this is, as I said at the beginning, it's only considering the solar load effect and what is the impact is going to be. That's
Okay. Yeah.
Any others before we conclude? I guess I would just say the importance of this topic, which was urban scale considerations, has been talked about, and particularly in Hong Kong, we do have a great example. It's a very livable. We're talking about livable urban environments, and that's in the density of tall buildings. But we're also very much faced with the heat island effect, with humidity, with making sure people are comfortable within the microclimates. And as we continue to add, we have the benefit of 70% of greenery, but where you're dense, you really need to take all of this into consideration. So we look forward to having these tools and using them more effectively at the beginning of the design process. And thank you all for sharing your tools. Thank you.